Sure, go ahead.
Hi, welcome back to Behind the Scenes, a sneak peek, raw and rough conversations with someone whose persona you may already know, but you haven't gotten up close and personal. It's always a joy to discover and uncover things about people whom we like or admire or see often in media or in internet. So let's get behind the scenes. Our special guest for today is a media influencer, a journalist, a documentarist, all rolled into one. He's all over media, he's all over TV because when you mention his name, you will always remember that he is one of the freshest, finest, youngest people in media. Kasi yung iba, sorry, matatanda na. Ito is fresh blood, new blood, and he has a different take on how he does things. I've always admired him. And wait, wag na tayo magpatagal. Let's introduce formally. Let's give a big, warm, virtual applause to Atom Araulio.
Hello! Hi, sir. So nice to see you, and thanks for inviting me for our little chat.
Thank you for making time. I know you are absolutely busy.
Oh, no, of course. Anything for Sir Fagan.
You brought a big...
Anything for you. Remember that song, sir? Anything for you.
Oh, was that from there?
From Oliver, yeah. That's your song. That's Fagan's song.
Thank you for bringing it up. Since you brought up Fagin and since you brought up Oliver, you were only 9 years old when you played the lead role of Oliver in the Ateneo Children's Theater. How was that experience like for you?
You know, sir, I mean, for people who are interested in how I got into media, how I got into this line of work, it all started there. And this is something that I don't think I've talked about before. Well, maybe partially, but this is the perfect venue to go back to those times in Ateneo. Kumbaga, back to memory lane, di ba? I started with ACT back then, and the reason I joined the ACT, the Ateneo Children's Theater, was because I was a very shy kid, and my father really almost insisted that I join the children's theater because diba sir sa Ateneo may extracurricular activities. I'm not sure kung ano na yung kanilang system ngayon, but when I was in grade 2, I joined the science club because I was a, I liked exploring my surroundings. I thought I was kind of, and eventually I realized that I'm really interested in science, but I digress, no? So grade 3, when it was time to pick another club, ACT wasn't actually in my list of choices. And my dad was the one who told me na, alam mo Atom, you should join the children's theater. And I was like, I can't. I don't know. I don't know people there. Nakakahiya. I don't know. I don't want to be on stage. But he said, parang, I think you'll have a lot of fun and you'll enjoy it. And that's how it happened. And I joined the children's theater. Tapos I was I don't remember the process, but I remember that I was convinced to audition for the lead role. Or everyone actually had auditions back then, pero parang I remember kasi before the audition, sir, talagang nag-practice ako eh. I really spent weeks practicing. Yeah, weeks, because I'm not really a singer. I'm not a performer. And the audition had to do with standing in front of a crowd and then singing. You had to bring like one song, I remember. So parang I think the song I picked was Where is Love? Because we knew that Oliver was going to be the play when I was in grade 3. So yun, practice, and then finally nag-audition. I really look back fondly on these memories kasi. And then and then a few weeks later, I was invited to the GLC's office in grade 3. And then my teacher back then, our moderator, si Miss Sansan Malilin back then, now Mrs. Borja,
Yes.
showed me this yellow slip. I even remember the color. And then it said I was going to play the role of Oliver. And I was so thrilled. I was really over the moon. And then because I knew it meant so much, not for me necessarily, but I knew that my parents were so excited about the role I was going to play. So when I got back home, linoko ko pa yung dad ko, sabi ko, Papa, hindi, linoko ko muna siya, sabi ko, Papa, hindi ako natanggap sa play. And he was like, nakakatawa, parang nag-kick in agad yung kanyang paternal instinct na parang, oh, it's okay. It's important that you did your best and you had fun. And then parang nilabas ko yung yellow slip. I'm just joking. Tuwang-tuwa siya. And then, I think it's from that experience being part of the ACT that I slowly became less introverted, or maybe I just learned how to socialize more with people, and I kind of came out of my shell, and that's a skill that I brought all the way to adulthood. So eventually I ended up in media, not by design, but through circumstances. I was lucky, and also I knew people working in media already. So yun, dahil yun sa ACT, honestly. Kasi kung hindi ako nag-ACT, feeling ko I would have been a very reserved kid.
Scientist.
Probably a scientist. Actually, I eventually studied in a science high school in Philippine science, and then nag-physics ako, sir, sa college. So
School.
yeah.
Really? Guwapo, mabait, matalino, talented.
I didn't know. Pisay ka pala, sir?
Now you know we are both Pisay.
Wow, kaya pala.
Wait.
Birds of the same feather.
Balik tayo sandali, Atom. What made you say yes to Papa na mag-try out?
Well, he was my dad. I mean, when I was just 10 years old. So parang whatever Papa said was the law, right? And also, I guess I was also intrigued by the idea of performing on stage. And I think ano rin even though I was very shy, I really enjoyed having a lot of friends. I guess I don't remember if I had trouble making friends back then. Pero definitely after joining ACT, parang nag-open up yung social circles ko, ika nga. Parang I became more kumbaga, ang dami kasing students sa Ateneo, sir, di ba? Parang if I remember correctly, 300 students per batch, even more maybe. But dati para I was just one of the kids. In fact, parang I was kind of flying under the radar, no? Kind of deliberately because I didn't want to stick out. Parang tatakot ako to make a lot of friends. But actually, because of ACT, nabaliktad yung mundo ko. All of a sudden, mga kids, mas madali na to make friends, and then may mga kilala na rin ako from other schools, from Miriam or Marinol back then, and also St. Bridget's. So yun, natuwa ako na hindi naman ako mahirap i-convince. Parang sabi ko, sige, let's give it a shot.
May I reveal, I hope I have the liberty to reveal, may I reveal why you clinched the role?
By all means, sir. By all means. Maybe I haven't heard this story.
You haven't, because it was a production secret meeting.
Oh.
Many auditioned for the different roles. As long as your singing is good, okay yun. Because singing can be taught. We have a musical director. We have a musical arranger. We have practices week after week. So the singing can be even better if that is an issue. But you know why Atom Aralio became Oliver, hands down?
Why? Why, oh why?
you had the innocence and spunk at the same time of an orphan. You cannot teach a boy to have innocence and spunk. Either he has it or he doesn't. Yung singing, pwede nang ituro yun. Yung sayaw, pwedeng ituro yun. Kahit maglamay kami sa sayaw at kanta mo. But the innocence and yet the spunk, oh wow.
Wow.
Hands down, Atom, Araulio, Oliver.
Wow, sobrang, I mean, yeah, sobrang, I mean, nowadays you take a lot of photos and video. It's so easy with our smartphones. So nowadays I have a few pictures of my ACT days, and those are really so precious. I even have ano nga, nakakatuwa nga. I even kept some of the letters that some of the kids sent me. Kasi 'di ba nanonood yung mga kids from other schools.
Wow.
And I received fan letters, and they're so cute, so sweet. Na I mean, parang that was really one of the best times of my life, I think.
You still have the letters?
I do. I kept them. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't keep them. Actually, my parents kept them. And thank God for that.
Thank God for Papa and Mama.
Exactly.
Wait,
Exactly.
wala pang video nun, but I remember we recorded it. Did you get a copy of the recording? Pa yun, VHS, whatever it was?
Probably baka nagkaroon, sir, pero ngayon wala na kasi VHS ano na siya eh. An ancient technology, but I think one of my uncles shot some footage of us performing also. So a little bit of footage there. Kasi nalala ko na may napanood na rin ako eh. Pero kung merong official na video, wala akong naalala. Baka meron pa sila.
How is it like? How is it like an adult Atom viewing 9-year-old Atom?
Parang you kind of mapapaisip ka na where has the time gone? Tsaka parang where did this kid go, no? Parang it's it makes you reflect really on how quick time passes and how precious each moment is, because parang it's gone in the blink of an eye. So I mean, some people say, no, there's this old adage that goes, parang youth is wasted on the young. And that only means, that young people don't realize how precious youth is and how precious those moments are. And even though I would say perhaps that I was able to live my life to the fullest, I'm very privileged in that sense. No? Kasi unlike other kids my age, I didn't have to worry about work, about putting food on the table. May mga bata na ganun, di ba? Yung mga less privileged. But so I only had to worry about school, about getting good grades, and I had all of these experiences. But again, when you're young, you feel like parang you can't wait to get old kasi parang I want to be an adult. I want to experience this and that. I want to drive a car. I want to go to university, etc. But parang sa totoo lang, there's no rush kasi when you're older, you realize parang wow, parang those days of innocence are really precious and fleeting.
Aside from the Bible, what book, Atom, has stayed in your heart and in your life?
Shucks. That's really a difficult question, huh?
Sige,
what book?
25 books. No, isa lang.
I mean, off the top of my head, if I'm being honest, one of my favorite books of all time, it's actually 3 books, is The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, wow.
Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and The Return of the King. That's really,
wow.
I think every other year, I go back to those books. Well, not every other year, but parang every once in a while, I pick up the books or or listen to the audiobook because I'm a big fan of
Oh,
J.R.R. Tolkien. Um, Aside from that, sabi niyo sir 25, so maybe I'll add one more. Um, um, Let me see. Um, I read Fiesta when I was in high school. The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, and that stuck around because aside from The Old Man in the Sea, which is a shorter book and was easier to read, parang that opened my eyes to a different kind of storytelling, no? Kasi parang dati yung idea ko ng books, I guess was um, very basic. Merong good and evil, merong rising conflict, merong big confrontation, and then merong resolution. The Sun Also Rises kind of made me so fascinated about basically about this author, about Hemingway, but then eventually it led me to read other books as well. So yun, that's one of my favorites.
so surely you have watched the films Lord of the Rings and everything.
Yes, absolutely. One of also my favorite films. Director Peter Jackson made a really good job of adapting those books.
And the Ateneo Children's Theatre itself had 3 years of Tolkien.
Really?
Yes. Pero
Wow.
wala pa tayo sa Ateneo Grade School Auditorium noon. There was an era that we were always either at Meralco Theater or Cultural Center of the Philippines. You know how far visionary si Mr. Singson. We had The Lord of the Rings in CCP. The
Amazing.
greatest adventure is there in your hands. Si Frodo, lahat sila, si Gollum, si Gandalf. Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Singson, rest in peace. He's really a visionary. I remember Mr. Singson. I mean, for those watching, Mr. Singson was the head of the Ateneo Children's Theatre for many years, and I remember when I became a member of the ACT, kasi junior ACT pa nun eh. Grade 2 and 3 was actually junior ACT, and then grade 4 to 7 was the ACT. And I remember na when I attended one of the big gatherings of the ACT, he he I felt like he spotted me from across the room. Parang it almost happened like that in my mind. And then he approached me and said, "Do you know how to sing?" And I was like, I don't know. And then parang tinawag niya ata si Miss Daisy, and then parang try to sing this line. And then I tried to sing the line. And then parang he's like, okay. And then parang that was the time that I actually practiced the song. He made me sing a few lines from the Oliver. And then parang kumbaga the challenge was thrown to this little boy to parang, oy, parang we're looking at you, parang here's the audition, prepare, parang ganon. And yeah, I mean, talagang you're right, he's ahead of his time. And I owe so much to Mr. Singson kasi he really, he coaxed me out of my shell.
When he asked you to sing, nakapag-practice ka na ba noon?
Hindi pa. Parang parang I think the line was "Where is love?" Yun lang ata eh.
As raw can get.
Yeah, exactly. Ako naman parang okay, si Eddie sing.
Remember what I told you kanina? You can always be taught how to sing, but he spotted you from afar because for me, he spotted you from afar because you are Oliver.
Wow. Remember sir, kinukwento din nila Miss Daisy na parang may mga um tawag dito, rehearsals na parang in the middle of the day I would kind of go to the East Field. East Field ba yung tawag doon? Malapit sa Yung parang baseball field natin. Tapos parang pagbalik ko meron na akong dalang mga kambing. Sinama ko yung mga kambing galing dun sa field. I was like walking alone, as I do when I was a kid, parang just exploring the campus, and then dinala ko yung mga kambing, tapos sila Miss Daisy, "Hoy, merong may-ari niyan, ibalik natin." Pero I was really parang I was that sort of kid. I liked exploring. Maybe that was what Mr. Singson saw.
If Lord of the Rings is in your book list, what is in your playlist?
In my playlist, I have a very eclectic taste in music. Maybe the reason why I was able to carry a tune at the very least when Mr. Singson approached me. When I was growing up, my parents always made us listen to classical music.
Wow.
And then classical music, and then I also, syempre yung hilig nilang mga musicians, kinahiligan ko na rin sila James Taylor, of course the Beatles, si Papa the Platters pa, no? Tsaka ABBA, mga very very old, well, I wouldn't say old naman, parang classic classic artists which I still listen to today. But nowadays medyo mas obviously mas contemporary na, pero medyo na-stuck na rin ako sa mga early 2010s eh. I listen to a lot of jazz music recently. I love jazz. Indie music, indie pop, independent rock music as well. Ang medyo kulang sa playlist ko yung mga hip hop tsaka R&B. Hindi ako ganoon ka well versed diyan, pero na-enjoy ko na rin siya eh. Pero I guess kung kumbaga go-to playlist na parang it will be enjoyable anytime I put it on, the Beatles.
Wow. Timeless.
Timeless, and I know almost all of their songs. Yeah.
What is in your right pocket? What is in your left pocket? Typically.
Right now?
Well, not now, but typically.
Right now, wala. Pero, wow, these are great questions, sir. In my right pocket, I usually have my keys. My left pocket, some loose change or a pair of earphones. And then in my back pocket, as a bonus, is my telephone, my cell phone. So medyo medyo typical na, pero yeah, that's I'm in a way that question is interesting for me kasi may pagka-OC ako eh, parang
really,
I guess, and maybe this is true for many people naman, not just for me. Also in my right pocket, a pen. So in my right pocket I put the pen, and then I put my keys, and then on my left pocket yun nga loose change. Nowadays, a small bottle of alcohol. And it has to be there, otherwise malilimutan ko or parang mami-misplace ko.
You are a documentarist. Gaano ka nakatagal documentarist? Bago lang, di ba?
Relatively new. I started doing documentaries. I was first a researcher in a defunct documentary program called The Correspondence in ABS-CBN. So a researcher basically looks for the story. We make a pitch for several topics, and then the host and the executive producer and also the segment producer or episode producer tells us to, okay, this sounds interesting, develop this, look for a case study, look for a location where we can shoot. That's the work of a researcher. So I started there. If you count that part of the process of making a documentary, I've been doing this for a long time because that was my first serious work in media, and I started in 2006.
Researcher
Now,
is off-cam. Researcher is
off-cam. Yes, off-cam. So I became a researcher, and then I became a writer and segment producer in 2000. Started 2005 pala, and then I became a writer in 2006. That was all off-cam. As an on-cam documentarist or host, matagal na rin kasi ang una kong on-cam work for the correspondence was 2000, let me see, probably 2008. So that was my first experience doing on-cam work for a serious documentary program. Kasi before nun, nag-5 na rin ako. So may on-cam work na rin ako, hindi na rin ako masyadong bago doon sa ganong klaseng trabaho. But I guess as a full-time profession, I would say just 2017. Kasi in ABS-CBN, so I worked in ABS-CBN for a long time before I transferred to GMA, where I still work currently. But towards the end of my career in ABS, I was also pitching documentaries na rin pero not as often as I liked, kasi parang hindi, there wasn't a lot of platforms back then for us to do documentary work. But I also did a few for ABS. So as a kind of as a regular thing, I just started in 2017 technically when I joined Eyewitness with GMA, and it's been really a really enriching experience doing this as a distinct output from news gathering, which I did for a long time. Magkaibang, it's kind of parang magpinsan sila, sir. Magpinsan, parehong visual medium, parehong gumagamit ng reality-based programs, but different in the sense that the storytelling is different, and the topics are a little bit different. It's interesting, very interesting for me.
You went viral worldwide when you were almost literally blown away during a typhoon. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, well,
as in,
that was for,
lang liparin ka talaga eh.
Sabi niyo ba, sir, itong batang to, naparin niyo ba, sabi, itong batang to, kung saan na naman nagsusuot, bumaba ka nga dyan. I can almost imagine you admonishing me. That was Typhoon Yolanda in 2013, or Typhoon Haiyan is the international name. By then, I was kind of I wouldn't say veteran, but an experienced field reporter with ABS-CBN, and I've covered a lot of typhoons by then. What made this typhoon different was the fact that, well, number one, it was the strongest to ever make landfall. So, and we knew that before it hit the city of Tacloban. It's a very, it's a scar in the memory of Filipinos, because it's a tragedy. A lot of people lost their lives, lost loved ones, and had their lives, overturned. Kasi in a matter of minutes, nobody could have predicted that it was going to happen in that way. But we learned a lot in terms of preparing for these kinds of things and using science to predict the impacts of extreme weather events. Anyway, I digress. But personally, my experience with that typhoon was that we went there because we knew early on where it would make landfall, which is kind of also unique, kasi in many cases the typhoons have parang an area where there was a chance it would hit in that general vicinity, but you don't really know. But for Typhoon Haiyan, from the beginning, because of its characteristics, parang na-narrow down na kung saan siya tatama, and we knew that it would hit between Leyte and Samar. So we flew to Tacloban a day before it made landfall, and we made stories about people preparing, and then we hunkered down essentially in the city of Tacloban because we knew it was going to hit somewhere near here. Another big difference of that coverage was the emergence of new technology. Kasi before Typhoon Haiyan, we would do live reports using a satellite. It's called satellite news gathering, SNG. using that technology, we would, set up a satellite dish, literally a satellite dish, link up with a satellite, and then that was how we would do our live setup. But it wasn't useful during typhoons kasi lili pa rin yung satellite eh. So we had to pack up. And I remember distinctly before that typhoon, I was in Aurora province where another typhoon hit, which is incidentally a very devastating typhoon din, pero nabaon na siya sa alaala kasi na madami naman nangyari eh. Actually lumindol pa bago nagkaroon ng bagyo. If you remember, there was a big earthquake in Bohol naman. So unfortunately, Typhoon Santi, I still remember the name. Kahit na it left devastation also in central Luzon, parang nakalimutan na siya. But during that time, I remember that we were doing a live setup as well. And we had to pack up before the typhoon made landfall. And I remember thinking, this is so funny. We're doing live when people are preparing. We're doing live in the aftermath of the typhoon. But the main event, the reason why we're here, we can't do lives kasi walang technology available eh. So sabi ko, ang ironic naman nun in my mind as a reporter. And then nung nag-cover kami sa Tacloban, meron ng bagong technology which used mobile internet using the data na parang nung time na yun, pa lang, emerging pa lamang. And using a mobile news gathering, we decided to do a setup in a building in downtown Tacloban. And naghanap kami ng cellphone tower na merong line of sight para sabi ko, kahit na anong mangyari, meron tayong signal hanggang sa, hanggang sa siguro, sobrang lakas ng hangin, babagsak na rin yan. And, fortuitously, as the typhoon was making landfall, the signal held up. So we were doing a live report for Umagang Kay Ganda back then as the typhoon was making landfall, or at least in the moments before the typhoon made landfall. So nakita ng mga tao how it was like to be actually in a typhoon. And I guess that's why people reacted so, I don't know, so energetically, or that's why it made an impression on people, is because we haven't seen that before. I think yung ganung klaseng devastation as it was happening live. So that's why it made an impact, and people still remember that. But yeah, for me, it was also I guess a landmark, and it was also one of those things that defined my career. For better or worse, people have different opinions on that coverage. I'm very proud of the work that we did, and the team was really committed to delivering the news back then, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without them. So, kumbaga, I'm really thankful for the effort of the whole team. But yeah, from then on, I became known as the boy in the rain or man in the rain or something like that, which I found amusing. But yeah, the important thing is the lessons that we learned from that experience, and I hope that people don't forget, kasi hindi naman mawawala yung mga malalakas na bagyo. So malamang magkakaroon uli ng ganyan, and we should learn from that experience.
I think it's not so much a devastation because people are used to typhoons and storms and devastation. That was not the admirable part of the coverage. What they were so amazed at is, look at this man, the courage, the guts, the determination, risking life and limb just to cover. Would other media people cover the way you did? O natural lang sa media man ang mag-cover kahit halos risking everything?
I think, sir, natural lang. I think if other people were in my position, they would have done the same thing. I really believe that. Of course, there's this whole debate about whether or not we should have been out there showing the situation on the ground. Some people think that it would have been better kung nandun na lang kami sa loob ng building. I mean, it's a whole debate and I won't get into that. Pero in terms of if other media people would risk being there to cover the typhoon, maybe not all, but knowing my colleagues, a lot of them would, I think, would be courageous also in doing that coverage. Kasi that's what the work is. In fact, a lot of us are in this line of work because we want to be where the news is happening. Even if sometimes it's a little bit dangerous. In fact, parang sa isang banda, it's not quite admirable. The fact that we're kind of risk takers in that sense, and also kind of adrenaline junkies na rin siguro, which I don't want to glorify. I don't want to romanticize. But parang somebody has to be there, understanding the risks, not taking any unnecessary risks, or putting, you don't want to put your team in danger unnecessarily, but there's a certain level of risk that you have to be able to carry. Kasi it's the nature of the job. You have to go where a natural disaster is happening. You have to go where conflict is happening. So a lot of media people understand that. And I'm not unique. I'm certainly not unique in that sense. I just happen to be the guy who was there during the time.
Okay. Which episode of Atom's life could make a good docu?
I don't know. I mean, kung akong tatanungin, wala naman talaga. I feel like my life is kind of typical. I mean, on the outside, I understand that people might be fascinated with the job, with being being a reporter, and now a documentary filmmaker or documentarist. Pero for me, hindi na siya interesting kasi yun yung ginagawa ko So parang for me, it's very typical. I guess, I don't know.
Pwede bang docu on happy episodes?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Kailangan bang makabagbag damdamin ang documentary? Hindi naman, di ba?
Hindi. Totoo kayo doon. Tama kayo doon, sir. We're always on the lookout for stories of success, for stories of inspiration. All of these things. Kasi yun naman honestly, yun naman ang masarap panoorin nagkakataon lang na minsan meron ding bad news and kailangan din ibalita yun kasi like ngayon may pandemic, so kailangan natin pag-usapan yung pandemic. Pero tingin ko nga yung mga tao napapagod na rin sa ganung mga storya kasi nakakapagod naman talaga, kahit ako napapagod na rin sa mga sad stories. Pero we are always on the lookout, and we are hungry for those kinds of stories. So going back to the question, sa akin siguro, I don't know, maybe my days as an athlete before, baka interesting gawa ng storya. Pero hindi na siguro documentary kasi nangyari na Kwento na lang, babalikan yung mga nangyari na parang yung training, tapos yung competition, and having to dig deep to finish a race or to succeed. If I were a documentarist, I would be interested in doing that story. Kasi tinan mo yung story ni Heidelin, of course, ibang level naman yon, Olympics naman yon. Pero it's very inspiring for Filipinos. It shows them that what you can achieve through hard work and determination.
Okay, let's go to a lighter side of things. Can we play a little game, Atom?
Sure.
You mention a pair of words. And then, pili ka which word you prefer and why do you prefer that?
Sure.
Okay.
May why, sir. May why.
Kung gusto mong ipaliwanag kung bakit. Kung hindi, next question.
Baka walang dahilan eh. Sige, sir. Go ahead.
House or condominium?
Shucks. Wow. If I had to choose one, probably a house. Why? Because I grew up in one. And it's just an environment that I feel that I'm more comfortable in. But I live in a condo kasi it's more practical. Pero if I had my choice, maybe a house.
Korean cuisine or Japanese cuisine?
Oh my gosh, that's impossible. It's an impossible choice.
You like
Both are amazing. If I had to choose one, maybe Japanese cuisine. If kumbaga gun to my forehead, I had to make a choice, Japanese siguro.
okay.
Pero I like both.
Nagpipig out ka ba?
Pipig out? Ah, yeah. Yeah.
Bakit hindi ka mataba?
I guess it comes with age. You have to be aware of what you're eating also. So ibabalanse mo rin na parang pag nagpipig out ka, parang the next few days you kind of have to watch what you eat.
Okay. If you could have a vegetable garden or a flower garden, excuse me po, ika nga ni Mike Enriquez. If you could have a vegetable garden or a flower garden, which would it be?
Probably a vegetable garden. I mean, I appreciate flowers. I've come to appreciate them more as I became became an adult. But vegetables, well, vegetables are also flowers who have come to to the end of their life for others to enjoy. So I have so much respect for farmers and green thumbs who are able to really cultivate these beautiful vegetables. Dati I take it for granted na parang kakain ako ng upo, kakain ako ng which are fruits by the way, but we consider vegetables. And parang sa akin wala lang yun parang alam ko lang tumutubo yun, pero na-realize ko how hard it is to grow these beautiful vegetables. So probably a vegetable garden.
Okay. Before we wind up, would you have a message for all your fans, family, friends, loved ones, followers, listeners, admirers? Merong Araulio Fans Club worldwide
Well, I would say to my to my siguro cult following number one, thank you for the support. There are a few out there I know who follow my work very closely, and I'm so very thankful for their continued support over the years. I'm not very active in social media. It tires me out, pero nakakaabot yung kanilang mga messages of of appreciation. So maraming salamat. I hope that you continue to follow my stories. I work hard on them, and I always try to make them interesting and relevant to people who are watching. We live in difficult times, so I hope that everyone is also safe and healthy, and enjoying their time with their families. And siguro stay curious and stay courageous in these difficult times. That would be my wish for everyone.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give another warm virtual applause to our guest, the Atom Araulio. Next episode of Behind the Scenes. This is Pido Aguilar. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. Wait.
Thank you, sir.
Wait.
It's okay. Nagre-record pa rin siya.
My mistake.
No, it's okay. Stop nyo lang, sir, dun sa record button.